The year is 2009. Gamers are gaming, and in comes a flurry of genre-defining titles. Sony and Xbox are trading blows in an attempt to win the console generation, and with one final hope, Sony sends out a Hail Mary of a game that cements the PlayStation 3 as the console of the 2000s. That game was Uncharted 2. You see, we're in this weird place with the current state of gaming. Companies are releasing unfinished, buggy games left, right, and center, and it feels like some of these games are more focused on microtransactions and monetization rather than actually putting out a half-decent game. Which is why it's always so jarring looking back at some games I used to play and realizing, damn, I forgot how good these games were. And for me, a prime example that comes to mind is Uncharted 2. This wasn't the first game I ever played, but it's the one I have the earliest memory of playing. The game really does have everything you could ever need. A high-octane adventure, Uncharted 2. Satisfying gameplay, Uncharted 2. A gripping story, Uncharted 2. A will to live? I want to convince you as to why you should play this game, and if you already have, why you need to play it again. See, the problem is everything is so good that I don't actually know where to start. Shit, how about the character? What better place to start than our protagonist, who I'm sure doesn't have any negative connotations to his name. You play as Nathan Drake. Oh, fuck. Nathan is an explorer and treasure hunter trying to make a name for himself. You know, he's sarcastic, he's funny, sometimes, actually a lot of times, in over his head. I mean, come on, bro. At what point do you decide that this is enough? Is this enough? How about this? Does someone have to die? He's a historian and also has some insane upper body strength. Like, I can't do a whole pull-up and this guy's out here climbing entire towers. Nathan's the hero of the story, but usually at the start of the game, he has this hyperfixation on the treasure and is prepared to go to any length to get it. It's almost like he gets a high off of treasure hunting. But it's his journey throughout the game which molds him into a better person and closer to a hero rather than just a treasure hunter. And for some reason, this changes almost always because of some near-death experience. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Nathan eventually understands that there are greater things at stake than the treasure, which, I mean, yo, if I had to sacrifice a treasure to bag these two, then I might have to agree with Nathan. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Speaking of baddies, he's also accompanied by a wider cast of characters. There's Sully, who's like his older father figure mentor guy that's always chain smoking a pack of cigarettes. You are 87, how do you not have lung cancer? He's there to guide Nathan, sort of acting like his moral compass. Don't get me wrong, he still wants treasure as much as anyone else, but he also has a limit and knows when they're going too far for 3 pieces of gold. But usually Sully isn't enough to convince Nathan to back off. His ex-girlfriend Elena, who he fumbled from the first game, is a reporter who, much like Nathan, would go to insane lengths just to get a story. Elena is usually the one that convinces Nathan he's about to get everyone killed if he keeps going after the treasure. Also, she's a certified baddie. There's also his current girlfriend Chloe, who he's probably gonna fumble in this game. She's kind of like a hybrid of Elena and Nathan, where she's a love interest joining Nathan for most of his journey, but instead of being after a new story, she's also after the treasure. Chloe's also working with the main villain of the game, sort of acting like a double agent for Nathan and passing along information. And yeah, she's also a certified baddie. And then, of course, there's the main villain, Zoran Lazarovich?
Genghis Khan, Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, they were all great men.
Zoran Lazar Victor Wembanyama is a crazy military warlord guy trying to track down a Mongolian oil lamp. I promise it's cooler than it sounds. You know how they always say it's about the journey, not the destination? Well, in Uncharted, it's about both the journey and the destination. In the first 5 minutes of this game, you climb out of a train that's dangling off the top of the mountain while Nathan's on the verge of bleeding out to death. In the first hour, you infiltrate a sewer system Metal Gear Solid style to get inside a storage room of some tiny ass museum, which actually then turns out to be a big ass museum, so you take out some guards Arkham City style and make your way further into the museum, where you finally steal that Mongolian oil lamp I was talking about before. One betrayal later, Nathan ends up in prison for 3 months, and then every chapter from this point forward, something insane is happening. One chapter, you're in this forest jungle thing in Borneo trying to track down a lost fleet of sailors that might hold the map to an ancient city, but oh shit, turns out the map is actually in a temple in the middle of a war zone in Nepal, and also this military guy who has an infinite army is also looking for the map. Next chapter, you're in the war zone trying to fight off this AK-47 attack helicopter. Now you're trying to move these arms on a statue so you can unlock a secret entrance inside a temple to find the location of some ancient lost city, which ends up being in the Himalayan mountains. Next, you're on a train trying to fight off an army and the same attack helicopter so you can rescue baddie number 2, and then you're in a mountain trying to solve a clockwork puzzle while fighting off these scary ass yeti looking things, and then you actually end up in the lost city. Goddamn, my brain's about to explode. Point is, there's always something happening in the story to keep the pace pushing forward. Uncharted is rarely, if ever, boring or slow pacing wise. This also goes double for Nathan's story. Leading up to the museum heist, Nathan has this fascination for treasure hunting, trying to make a name for himself and get rich while doing so, while also fulfilling that inner desire for thrill and adventure. But at what point does fascination turn into obsession, as he's hunted down by more and more threats that are larger than anything he could have imagined, and faced with betrayal by those he once called friends? His obsession with finding the treasure only increases. Nathan continues to walk the blurring line between life and death, where one wrong step can end his path forever. How many people must walk his path of destruction before he's satisfied with his addiction? Will Nathan sacrifice his friends to get the treasure, or will he sacrifice the treasure to save his friends? Alright, enough about this stupid shit, bro. Let's get to what actually matters. I'm talking, of course, about Alright, for real, there's a bunch of different gameplay mechanics, you know, punching, climbing, note-taking, puzzle solving, shooting. There's a lot of guns in this game. You've got the G-Mal, the Dragon Sniper, crossbows, the Gao 19, the Hammer M32, the the SAS 12 shotgun. What else? Grenades, a turret, an AK-47 attack helicopter, and a whole damn tank. The gunplay itself is nothing too crazy. Aiming is nice and smooth, and every gun feels crisp to shoot. Almost every combat encounter in this game is different to one another, so it always feels fresh. There's also a few different enemy types. You've got your guy with a gun, guy with a gun and a shield, guy with an RPG, guy with armor, and a guy with a lot of armor. There is also one other enemy type later in the game. It's basically these yeti looking things, and all I'm gonna say is you don't know true fear until you encounter one of these things. After you finish the story, you unlock cheats, so first thing I did was turn on infinite ammo and one-shot kills, and then just double pumped every damn yeti that came my way. Another key feature in this game is the climbing. There's actually a pretty deep parkour system in the game. Wait, no, that's just free running too on miniclip.com. For real, the climbing in this game is, well, it's controversial. A lot of people don't like the climbing in Uncharted.
Get me wrong, these are all good games, but the climbing is so goddamn boring.
The main critique I really see in here is that there's not really much thought or gameplay in the climbing. It kind of acts more as an interactive loading screen or just a shortcut to connect areas together. And to that I say, well, I agree. I do see how this critique makes sense, but me personally, I don't mind the climbing. I actually kind of enjoy it. I find it kind of cool how you can see the path you're meant to take and how it's naturally blended in with the environment. It sort of adds to the adventurer or treasure hunter part of the game. Naughty Dog also did a great job of incorporating climbing into gameplay sections, like in chapter 12 where you're stuck on a set of billboards while also being shot at from 4 different angles. So you have to keep switching sides for cover as you try to hold off these soldiers. There's also puzzle solving mechanic across the Uncharted games. Throughout Uncharted 2, you basically get to these gigantic puzzles which act as a final test before you're allowed to proceed into some ancient chamber full of treasure. Nathan's also got his notebook which gets updated at different points in the game. There's some bits of lore, hints for puzzles, and other stuff. Some of these puzzles might have a missing feature. For example, maybe there's a piece missing on a statue or the color on a symbol is faded, and this is where you would use the notebook to backtrack and find what belongs where. Honestly, the puzzles aren't super complicated, but I think it does a great job in breaking up the gameplay sections so that you're not always just shooting and climbing. I mentioned earlier how you go to a bunch of different locations in Uncharted 2. It's actually a main feature of all 4 Uncharted games, but I think Uncharted 2 does it best in terms of transitioning between locations, where instead of there being some sort of time jump, you actually make your way to these locations. It's not like these other games where you just magically end up in one place. No, there's a whole journey between getting from point A to point B. Okay, show me 2 games where you... Okay, show me 3... Okay, alright, here's an example of where this pacing thing actually happens. During the middle of the game, chapters 5 to 16, you travel across 3 major areas. Nepal, Tibet, and a middle section between Nepal and Tibet. Chapters 5 to 12, you're going deep into this war-torn city, trying to find a specific temple while also trying to dodge soldiers and rebels. After you spend a few chapters finding your way into the city, you know, avoiding the usual attack helicopters and collapsing buildings, you eventually find the temple. Then, due to some story stuff, you eventually need to get on this one specific train. So in chapter 12, you end up making your way to the outskirts of the city to a nearby train depot and actually getting on said train. Then in chapters 13 and 14, you're going from the very back of the train to the very front of the train, fighting through waves of soldiers. While this is happening, the train actually goes from Nepal to Tibet, and you can see this happening in the background. The train derails, Nathan keeps moving forward as long as he can until he bleeds out, and then he's found unconscious by a local villager. And then finally, in chapter 16, you end up in this Tibetan village where the latter half of the game carries out. And this is just one example of this seamless transition between locations. If you know anything about Uncharted, you know this series is known for its insane set pieces. I mean, in every single trailer, cutscene, or bit of gameplay, Nathan is falling off a bridge or crashing into something. Like, this guy has the most insane luck I've ever seen. One of my favorite set pieces is in chapter 20, Cat and Mouse. Basically, you're in this village that's been ambushed by a bunch of soldiers, when all of a sudden they bring out a tank that is chasing after you, and I mean literally chasing after you. So you have to find something powerful enough to take out the tank, except no one there speaks English, so you have to run around the village, dodging bullets and missiles, trying to find an RPG that might not even be there. Naughty Dog did a crazy job of incorporating the surrounding buildings and houses into the levels, as you can go into them for cover, ammo restocks, and in some parts you have to use the houses to get through the different sections of the village so you don't get blown up by the tank. The path you're meant to take sort of perfectly blends into the environment. There's not any sort of indicator telling you where to go, so it just immerses you into the game even more.
2024 music.
Bro, the music in this game, don't even get me started. Marco Polo, Desperate Times, Cornered, Fiend, Gates of Shambhala, Nate's theme. Dude, Nate's theme alone should get this game a Grammy. Damn, I've been yapping too long. I should end off the video. Okay, last section, I want to talk about how beautiful this game is.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
Naughty Dog always raises the bar every time they drop a game. Look at Last of Us Part 2, and then before that, Uncharted 4. And then before that, Last of Us Part 1. And then before that, there's so many places you visit in Uncharted 2, and each location has its own distinct color palette. In the opening museum heist, you have all these shadowy colors lit up from the glow of the moon. Points of interest are brought to your attention through deliberate lighting choices and contrast in color. And then in Borneo, you're trekking through a jungle and the color palette is almost inverted. You've got this murky green and brown fogging up the screen, and the orange glow from the sunset lights everything up. Now we're in Nepal and there's so much detail everywhere. Okay, first you have all these houses and buildings which are all damaged from the years of war, but you can tell that there used to be life here. In the distance, fire, smoke, and explosions light up the sky. And then the environment takes a change. Suddenly there's a storm brewing, rain is pouring, and the color palette becomes a murky grey. The second half of the game revolves mostly around this icy tundra type of theme. You've got this small little village in the heart of the mountains being lit up by the warm glow of the sun, and as you journey further into the mountains, you're hit with these sharp icy blues. Monasteries seem to fly into the sky, giving you this insane sense of verticality. And then you finally make it to the lost city, and it's so... I mean, look at this. You spent so long hearing about this ancient lost city throughout the game that now you actually get to go and spend quite a bit of time there, and it's so worth it. The city has this golden glow from the color. It's like a blend of every major location in the game. Damn, I barely talked about the third act of the game, huh? I guess you'll have to see it for yourself when you download and play the game. Alright, I've yapped long enough. You all know how much I love this game. I just want to end this video off with one request. Naughty Dog, please remake this game with Uncharted 4 graphics. Add a damn grappling hook for all I care, bro. Please, bro. You've made like 45 remasters, bro. Just make one more, bro. Please.
But that's simply not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?